You are listening to the Earplug Podcast Network, a Fanboys Inc. production.
Can you dig it, nigga, sucker? Ooh, yeah! We boo you because you're both a couple of world-class international a-holes. Time to play the game.
Double or Nothing is down. Turbulent Tuesday is upon us. Louis Perry's flexing with pink wristbands on. I'm Jack Purcell, and tonight we have the leader of the Scrunchy Squad, Becca, as our special guest. But before we let Becca on, who, by the way, is in my easy top 5 of guests that I've wanted to have on, I wanted to make sure that we touch base with you guys and let you know that nobody outpredicted Louis or I for Double or Nothing at the Western Mass Comic Show this weekend.
That's right. I had every single match correct. I even called a former WWE female superstar showing up. I just said, I didn't say who, I just said one was going to show up. I was top of the line. I had it all. I mean, every single match right down the line, I called it. I was right. Why?
You know that every time we don't make you write it down, you get 100%.
I did write it down. I did. It's downstairs in the notebook.
Well,
I
yeah,
will have
you
Cody.
did. I didn't see it.
Oh, I will have Cody. I will have Neil show you the picture. I will. Seriously. I was right. I had it all right. Everyone.
All right.
Seriously.
All right. I don't want to bring in any more gray hairs on you here. Joe McDonald says, and 2 actually showed up. 2 what? I'm not sure 2 of what.
I don't know.
MJF, that's 3.
Yes, maybe. I don't know. Hi, Uncle Joe. How you doing, Joe? How you doing?
So Double or Nothing was outrageous.
Yes, it was.
The trios match, the House of Black against Death Triangle, blew my mind.
Finally, a payoff with Julia. Oh, my God. That's storytelling, man. 2 years. Finally, that's storytelling.
Right. Yeah, love it. I got a payoff. Joe McDonald says Athena and Stokely. Ah, okay. And you forgot Wardlow. Don't you know now he's all elite?
Yep, he is all elite. Yeah, but we knew that anyway. Because he had an action figure that's very sought after.
What are you trying to say? He already had a contract with AEW?
Maybe.
Oh, okay.
Maybe not.
All right.
I don't know.
Trying to be clear, brother. Just trying to be clear.
Yes, I know.
Well, we don't want to keep our guests waiting too long.
No, I was just going to say that. You're very rude. She's in the back. She's going to beat you up next time she sees you.
She might.
She and I are pretty tight. So, I don't know about you, because, like, you're being rude to her right now.
I'm not being rude.
I almost wore my scrunchie for her. That's why I took the bandana off. That's why I'm not wearing the cowboy hat. That's why I'm not wearing the glasses, the new glasses that were debuted this past weekend while we had our personal appearance. That's why I'm not wearing none of that. Because I was going to wear a scrunchie, but then I didn't have the right one, so.
Well, I told my daughter that Becca was going to be on tonight, and she forbid me from wearing her scrunchies, even though I think I have enough hair now. I could actually do it. But she didn't let me do it.
Oh, Joe, we got 2 of them in the geek lair. Joe says he got a Wardlow figure.
Always.
I got to. Don't let my sparkle burn your eyes. Plain and simple.
All right, brother, listen. We have got a megastar who, if you don't know, you're about to learn. And if you do know, maybe you're going to learn something new. Tonight, again, we have the leader of the Scrunchy Squad. We have Becca.
There she is! I know her. How you doing, Becca?
I'm
And no,
great.
wow, look at this. Everybody coming in hating on me right now. Chris Heber says no scrunchy Lewis, and Joe McDonald says just plain ordinary Lewis. Yes, tonight just plain ordinary Lewis. No cowboy hats, no glasses, no nothing. Yes, and oh,
Whoa, Joe McDonald, the amazing Becca in the house. Look at Joe, all enthusiastic. Awesome. What we like from our listeners, excited to be our guest. So, Becca, I've been wanting to have you on for a long time. So, thank you so much, sincerely, for your time, for being with us tonight, because we're super pumped to have you.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we loved seeing your debut, or not your debut, your return at Limitless. That was awesome with MSP. Love it.
Thank you. Yeah, it was so much fun.
Yeah,
I'm
it
so
looked like
happy to
fun.
be
Yeah,
back.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could tell everybody missed you. It was a really sincere welcome. That was cool.
I know, I was so emotional. I was like, oh my gosh. I couldn't believe how happy everyone was because I was happy to be back. And then to have the crowd just react the way they did, I was just like blown away. I
Yeah,
just love the Limitless crowd. They're just awesome.
I
So,
can only imagine what it felt like. And the good news is, wait till you get back to the Beyond crowd. They're gonna go crazy,
oh yeah.
and
They
everywhere
say
else.
they hate me, but they love me.
Ah, come on, come on.
now would you rather? What was it like? This is a new question I like to ask all our guests. What was it like the first time that you walked out and saw a fan, or positive or negative, but just a fan holding up a sign with your name on it?
Um, Man, honestly, I feel like it was like pretty confusing because I was like, what? Why do you know who I am? Because I feel like this happened maybe like one of my like my first year in, and I was just like, oh, that's cool. Like I don't know, I just was just like, I'm still so new, and seeing that I was like shocked. Um, but it's pretty cool. I think wrestling fans are so creative. It's like one of my favorite things about being an indie wrestler is seeing um, all the like art and signs and involvement that the fans have in the shows and the storylines and everything. And it's just really fun to have people be a part of it like that and on such like a, you know, personal level. It's really special. So
Do you
yeah.
remember what the sign said?
I've had like a few. I don't remember the first one. There was one that was like I think like there's like a guy who makes them for like a bunch of different wrestlers, and um it's like the like John Cena, you can't see me, but like with scrunchies, like with the scrunchies. So I don't know, I thought that was pretty cool.
All right, Jack, we have a comment.
Yeah, Joe McDonald says he was honored to be able to photograph you at the Fall River Street Fight with MLK. Kudos for the thumbtack spot.
Ooh.
That was a really fun match. That's like probably my favorite match with Little Mean Kathleen. So yeah, it was a
Yeah,
good
well, she's
one.
somebody you faced. And, it's funny that, you were just talking about how it was cool to see that sign in the first year. We're talking like you've had a 10-year career, but correct me if I'm wrong, you're only 2 years in.
You can't scrunch me. Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
That was from Chris Ebert.
I debuted in January of 2020, right before the pandemic. So, some people count the pandemic, some people don't. But I've really only had like a year and a half, even maybe less, wrestling in front of like live crowd. So, yeah, it's
Yeah, I
been
mean,
interesting.
before we even get into that, I guess I'm curious about like when did you discover professional wrestling?
Yeah, pretty recently, like 2018.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, like pretty shortly before I started training. So,
So,
yeah.
who were your influences? What got into your blood to say, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to tear the house down doing it.
Man, I mean, all of the women on NXT, especially like everything from like 2015 to like 2018 when I was watching. Um, yeah, like the Bailey Sasha feud was like huge. I was
Mm.
so into that. They're two of my favorites, huge influences. Um, Naomi, just she was like one of the people that when I first started wrestling just instantly captivated me. Um, her entrance, her athleticism, just everything about her, just I was like, wow, like I want to do that. Um,
One
yeah.
of the coolest things that I ever heard, or the stories that I like to hear, is what was your loved ones? What were their reaction when you told them?
Oh, my parents aren't really into wrestling at all. They don't really get it, so they're just like, oh, that's nice. I don't, there's nothing like special about it. Yeah.
Have they seen you work?
My mom came to one chaotic show, and
Ooh,
she was like, it was when I wrestled Anthony Green for the Panoptic Championship,
okay.
and she was like very mad that he um was like wrestling me, but she wasn't really mad. But she like went up to him after and was like, "Don't you ever do that again?" And I don't know, whatever.
Did you
She was
work,
messed
Mom?
up.
I mean, did you like play to her? And was she sitting in close to you? Was she
Oh
in the
yeah,
front
I
row,
saw
second row?
her.
Did
It
you?
was really fun. It was fun to see her. And knowing like right before I did like a moonsault to the outside and
Uh
right
huh.
before I did that I was like, oh, she's gonna hate this, but you gotta do what you gotta do, you know? So
Jake the Snake Roberts had once said that if you could make one person in the crowd, one person in the crowd feed off have everyone else feed off that one person's energy, you have magic in the bottle. I'm sure you did that with Mom. I mean, if you had Mom sitting there and you played Mom, it's like, Mom, help me. If the crowd did not know that was your mom, she would have got that crowd behind you. It would have been hot. I mean, the guy is, I mean, he is a master of the game, and I truly believe what he says. If you would have played that, I'm sure it would have been hot. It would have been a hotter match than it was.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Maybe she would have got mad and went after Anthony, but you never know.
I think she was
Jack,
too
you got
busy
anything?
taking pictures, to be honest.
Jack, what do you got?
So, Becca, you're from the Boston area. I don't know exactly where, but did you train in Boston?
I'm actually from Ohio, but
Oh,
I trained at the Belltime Club in Wakefield, and now I train at the New England Pro Wrestling Academy in North Andover.
all right. Yeah, nice. I mean, I'm wearing the appropriate shirt for tonight because I had a little idea about that background. But it's funny because I remember seeing you for the first time, and I think this was just before the pandemic kind of shut down a lot of the live shows. And I remember you teamed with Love Doug at a Blitzkrieg Pro show. And I remember seeing you thinking, like, how the fuck don't I know who this is? And I really was kind of beating myself up. But then I realized, oh, like, you're new. Right? And like, I hadn't seen any matches prior to that. And so then I kind of followed you at other companies like Chaotic and Limitless and Beyond. But I had no idea because like you came in with so much confidence. It just didn't seem like this could be someone who's new. Do you find that a lot that do people tell you that you seem like a natural or confident?
Or do you have
Um,
people stalking you like Jack?
I'm
I don't
just
really
enjoying
think
the work.
about it that much. Um, yeah, I I don't really think about it like that, I guess. Um, but I am definitely confident.
Yeah, because I mean
Maybe
you
too
were
much sometimes.
I don't think so. I mean, you were there on a show with people who've been in the industry for probably longer than you've been alive. And it didn't show for 1 second that this was something that you were a newcomer to. Joe McDonald says, what do you feed off from the crowd more? Love of the fans or the heat?
I'm gonna be honest, I think that's the same thing because when uh when the crowd is engaging with you, that it's because they love you. I don't like. I feel like there's very few instances of real like heat where they like actually hate the person. I feel like if someone in the audience doesn't um love the performer, they just stop watching. They'll just get on their phone. Especially now, like it's so easy. You just pick up your phone, you can text your friend or scroll on Instagram or whatever, and then you look up the match is over and you watch the other wrestlers. Exactly, exactly, Lewis. So, honestly, like I just, yeah, I just love yelling, getting yelled at, whether it's good things or bad things, same thing to me. So,
Yeah, right. I mean, I think engaging the crowd is the name of the game. So I totally agree with you. And I guess, again, I think I need to say this now and get it out of the way because I'm so preoccupied thinking about it. But I guess I wonder, how do you go about your booking? Because I remember one of the landmark moments for me at Pro Wrestling Grind that cemented to me that they were a big deal was your match with Davian. And I just thought that was an incredible match and to me stole the show. And that was a new promotion. So how do things like that work? Was it just because you and Rip and Delmy were already associates at Limitless? Or how does it work out when you decide that you're going to take a booking at a new company like Grind?
yeah, I mean, I think it's hard for any new company that people don't know the promoters or so on because there is a lot of like sketchy things that go on in indie wrestling. Um, so I think that's always like a risk, but I have known Delmy like since I, first started and Rip. So for me it was just like there's nothing different. There was nothing different about taking that booking. Um, versus like some place where I've never heard of them. I don't know anyone who's worked for them, and I don't know the promoter at all. That might like raise a few red flags, and I might, ask a few more questions and make sure everything there is good to go. But yeah, I'm really proud to have been a part of the first Grind show. Really love the shows that they put on, and working with Delmy and Rip is awesome. They're two great people, and I really hope to be back at Grind soon. So
Yeah, definitely. And they are super cool. And I think that you have such an extraordinary story in your career so far, not only because you've done so much in such a short period of time, but because your career really, like we mentioned a little bit, kind of began as the pandemic did. Like when that happened, was it difficult for you to stay positive and be like, oh shit, the pandemic, my career's just getting started. What am I going to do? Like, how did you stay positive through that?
to be honest, I think that like it was definitely hard because yes, I had just started and I had just started getting bookings, but I was so new that it honestly gave me a chance to kind of build my online persona and my internet presence. So that when the pandemic, kind of things started to pick up again and restrictions started to get lifted, shows started to run again, people actually knew who I was just from Twitter, just from Instagram. Um, and I had like a little YouTube channel at that point. I've like deleted it since I'm like, oh, embarrassing now, but at the time it was like a creative outlet and a way for me to experiment with like my presentation and my character and so on. So I look back and I'm like, it was definitely hard because I think especially lockdown was really hard for everyone. Like everyone was suffering from a lack of social interaction and creative outlets and so on. So I think it was hard for everyone, but it did work out for me in that I feel like I was able to really focus on something that did help me later on. I think, for example, if lockdown were to happen now, I would be able to like focus on my music more, but I think it would be worse because now I have like a lot of bookings and that would be really disheartening. But at the time it was like, you know, I was still getting started enough that I still felt like I had so much to do outside of the ring that I was able to focus on that. So that's really what got me through it.
Speaking of bookings, can we talk about your background? Uh, London. How did that happen? Back to Europe.
Yeah, I so earlier this year I did like a Europe tour. I went to London and worked for Pro Wrestling Eve, and then Madrid, and I worked for RCW in Spain. And I was supposed to go to WXW and work like a series of shows there for their like Road to 50 Carat show.
Hmm.
And yeah, I unfortunately got injured in Spain. And so I was not able to go to WXW. And um, I had some other things I wanted to do in Europe. Really wanted to work, Ireland, France. There's a lot of places around there that I had hoped to work. And, due to my injury, I had to return to the US immediately. So I don't want to announce, everything yet,
No,
but
no,
I
no, no,
will be
not at
based in
all.
London um, early July and late July. Um,
July
and
25th through August 4th, if I am not mistaken.
yeah, and July 3rd through July 15th.
Oh,
And
you're blocking that part, so I couldn't act like I was smart. No.
well, I'll post this.
Okay.
But yeah,
So,
I'm gonna basically finish what I started
okay.
because I have a lot of stuff that I wanted to do earlier this year that I was not able to, and now that I'm back, like I'm going for it. So
All right. Can you talk on how it happened? I mean, did they reach out to you? Did they reach out to, do you have an agent? You're booking. How did it happen? How did they notice Becca?
yeah, a lot of places in the UK and Europe they watch Limitless, and Beyond, and Chaotic, and all of these places. So it's more worldwide than you would think. But yeah, so that's how they knew me.
The reach of Limitless seems really interesting. Like to me, again, I've got more of a comic book background, and I know how I reached out and got work from these companies. But I'm fascinated by what Lewis is talking about how do these companies find out about you? Because I think that like with AEW, for instance, so
Yeah,
those
that
sort of
was my
things,
next
like
question.
because there's obviously a lot of people watching Limitless because everyone in Limitless eventually ends up at least getting a tryout in WWE or they're on AEW. We've seen so many people who were the champions in Limitless who almost instantly seem to go like a year and a half, and next thing you know, you're seeing them on NXT, you're seeing them on AEW. So how did it feel to you? Like, do you feel like it's almost like the equivalent of a really fancy business card being on Limitless? I don't know if you think about it like that, but it's got to feel like you've got some cachet knowing that a lot of eyes are on a company like Limitless.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It does feel like that, and I'm very proud of it. And so grateful. Um, yeah, I work really hard at Limitless. I love the crowd there, and I'm just blown away. I think like you know, living in New England, sometimes I forget how wide the reach is, but Limitless, a lot of people watch it. And yeah, I remember like going, where was I? I maybe it was at Shimmer last year. And see, in my mind, I'm still just like not like popular at all. Because I mean, I think like objectively, when you look at like the average person on the street, they don't know who I am. I'm just like a normal person. So I just like don't think of myself like that. But then like I was like at Shimmer, and there was like people in the crowd who knew who I was, and I was like, I'm in Illinois. Like, what is this? Like, I don't know. That was really cool. That was like a really cool moment.
Yeah, it must be surreal because like you're a big deal in wrestling, you know? So it's funny to
Oh,
think like
stop.
you're just well, I mean, really,
Well,
like I can sincerely say that as a fan because you're someone like Lewis and I have talked about this. Like we've got this list of people we really want to get on the show, and you're on that list, you know? So it's you're somebody who stands out in a crowd, and we've been fortunate enough to have lots of women who I think are awesome, like Zeta Zhang and Danny Moe, and you know Riley
I
Shepard. We've
love
got
them.
so many who I think so much of. So yeah, it's no bullshit. I feel like you know you're a big deal. I mean, especially when you think about 2 years. I mean, it's kind of mind numbing. Like that's an enormously small period of time for doing so much. I mean, the people you've been in the ring with, you could like lay out this crazy list already, and you know this is 2 years in. It's insane. You've been on AEW. Like with a company like that, do they
mhm.
just reach out to you? I mean, like how does that happen?
That was my next question.
Yeah, they reached out to me through email.
I think that's
Yeah.
amazing. You know, like I just think like
Mhm.
All
it's
right,
no.
so big question, and I have to ask: will you be at AEW? In oh no, you won't be because you're leaving. Never mind.
Glad you interrupted me for that, Lewis. Thanks.
I just happened to look at the date. I was like, never mind. Never
Good
mind.
Lord, man. Good Lord. But I just feel like, you know, for instance, like, again, Lewis and I like to make a lot of equivalents to the world of comics and the world of wrestling. But if I ever had DC Comics just reach out to me and be like, hey, you're awesome. We've seen you in the indies. We want you to work on Batman. I would have been like, oh my God, really?
They
But,
did.
well, no, they didn't. I had to bust my ass to get in the door, but it
Oh yeah,
happened.
that's right.
But I
That
just
was
feel
me.
like,
Never
oh,
mind.
right, my management. But I just feel like for you, it's not like you're putting together some sizzle reel and sending it off to all these companies. They're coming to you. I mean, that's to me like right there says an enormous amount about you, right? I mean, you've got to see that pretty objectively, right?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I will say I have sent my fair share of cold, uh, cold emails. It's just like bring Becca to insert company name. So definitely not.
I would
It's not
think you
like I've
have
never
to,
done
right?
that
Like
before.
I mean, I don't know how else you would make it happen. To me, like I just remember like the same thing. I'd be sending out samples to everybody, just be like, I want to work for you. Here's why, blah 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 blah. So I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know how else you're the if you're not looking out for you, who is? Because you're a freelancer, right? Like it's not like you've got a bunch of people booking you. I imagine you're probably doing most of your work, right, yourself.
Yeah, yeah, I do it all myself. I have
Well,
like a lot of people that I
you need
work
a
with.
manager, and I just happen to know the guy. No.
I do I have, you know, a lot of friends in the business who
Mhm.
are good at like graphic design. For example, I made this graphic. I don't think it's great. So I reached out to one of my friends who makes the graphics for Chaotic Wrestling, and I was like, "Hey, can I, you know, hire you to make me a nice graphic um, for my UK tour?" So I do a lot of stuff like that because while I watch like a lot of tutorials on YouTube about like using Photoshop and so on and like um and you know I'm still pretty young in my very young in my music career as well. So I work with music producers to produce my music. But I also, you know, am trying to learn those skills myself because I have so much going on up here that I want, you know, I have my own creative ideas that I want that I think sometimes like when you explain it to someone and you have them do it, it doesn't come out quite the same. So it's hard to like pick up all of these skills that you need to really market yourself as a freelancer, but I'm slowly doing it and I'm trying. And when I can't do it, I, you know, ask my friends who can do it to help me. So
Well, see, that's where the old saying comes: if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself.
Thanks for that pearl of wisdom there, Lewis. That was a good one.
That's that.
How
Well,
about no, you crazy Dutch bastard?
so Becca, you
Wrong.
kind of answered my next question because it seems to me like
Stop! She's
really,
laughing at you.
she wouldn't be the first or the last. It seems to me that it's really obvious that you've got other creative endeavors or interests. So you talked about your music. Can you kind of elaborate on that?
Yeah, I make pop music.
Do you talk
um,
about pop music?
do I talk? What do you mean?
No, never mind. My
Is
age
that
is
a joke?
showing. Yeah, no,
Oh,
kind of.
Lewis,
Jack.
that was. I know.
No,
That,
Joe
that could be it.
McDonald's probably gonna pop up with a comment about my lame joke. Um, please talk about your pop music, and then there you go. Glenn Portman comes in. Very good, Glenn. Very good.
Shout out Glenn.
Yes, Glenn
Um,
understood the reference. He got the
yeah.
reference and he got the joke. Thank you.
Yeah. So I make music. It's on Spotify, Apple Music,
Oh,
anywhere
cool.
that you can stream music. It's just under my wrestling name, Becca with a three. Um, yeah, and I've been into music for a bit of time. In high school, I was in a band, and boys just had a really strong interest in music and making music. And I love listening to music and going to shows and just all of it. So, yeah.
All right, now I feel foolish. In the early '80s, there was a band or a guy named M who wrote a song called Pop Music, and the whole thing was talk about pop music, and that's the whole lyric of the song, and it was in the top 40, almost top 10, and the song was called Pop Music, and that was supposedly a right there. Jack is showing. Are you playing it, Jack?
Well, no,
Oh,
no.
that's not me.
Oh,
That
somebody's stealing the
boy,
spelling of
Jack.
your name. It's B3CCA. Oh
When
So
was
man,
let's talk
when?
about
When was
yeah.
that released?
it's recent, 2022.
Oh, mine was released last year, my first song, so this person is
Uh huh.
copying me.
Oh yeah. I think I got you.
Hold it up to your mic, Jack.
Yeah,
Hold it
that's
up to
me.
Jack. Hold it up to your
There's a
mic.
fake Becca.
Yeah, fake Becca.
All right,
Yeah,
let's sign a
That's
match.
messed up.
yeah. That seriously, like a steel cage match. Kick her ass, and you take
Um,
ownership.
so Becca, let's talk about the spelling of your name. I mean, it's super unique. If you Google Becca Wrestler, it does come up. Your photos come up. The spelling of the name. How did you decide on that?
Because it's like a screen name, and I don't know, I thought it was cute. Like
No,
when I like
it's
come out through
it's
the
definitely
curtain,
awesome.
and it's like Becca with a three, and it's like, oh, like it's like an Instagram or like Twitter handle, so it was funny.
No, it's definitely cool. Now, your theme music. Do you use your own music to come out
I
to?
do sometimes. It depends. Honestly, I just do what I feel like most of the time. I have
Okay.
like a song that I really like by Liz that I come out to at like Limitless. And I like using that one for Limitless because I feel like um it's like very recognized by the crowd at this point. But
Okay.
yeah, I've like come out to my own music a few times, different songs and whatnot. I'm releasing new music too, pretty soon.
Okay.
So keep an eye out for that.
Well, definitely. How do you choose your music?
Kind of just like how I want to present myself at that show.
Okay.
So yeah,
Any
depends.
pre-match rituals? Is there anything that you
I
do?
get this question like every podcast, and I'm always like,
Okay, scratch it.
I
Scratch
don't
it.
know. No,
No, scratch it
I'm
for
just
sure.
like,
No,
I don't
definitely.
know.
No, I don't want you to answer something that you've always answered. That's one of the
Well,
rules on the Angry Geeks, so I don't want to ask you now.
Well, I got
the
one that
answer is
might
that
not
I
be as
don't know.
repetitive. Ah,
Okay?
all right, good. We'll move on to one that you might not hear as
Sure.
often. I don't know. But it's not that we would be surprised to hear about cute concepts from you because you've got the scrunchie squad. So where did that originate from? Maybe other than the fact that you just love scrunchies, I don't know. But where did that come from? Because it's an appealing idea.
Yeah, pretty much just that I wore them a lot and I had a lot of them, and it just kind of like caught on with the crowd, and I don't know, I just kind of ran with it. It felt very natural, and um, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it
Fun.
works. It works. But it's interesting. Before we get to Chris Hebert's question, one thing that I was noticing is that, I don't know if this is deliberate, this is just a moment, whatever it is, but I always associated you with scrunchies. But then recently, since your return at Limitless, I've noticed the new concept, and perhaps for obvious reasons, of a star as your theme. Is that a concept that you designed?
I kind of took that design from some gear that I had that I just really liked, and yeah, just I feel like it goes with the whole like pop star thing. Um,
Right.
and it's cute, so.
Do you design that for the most part? Is that something that someone who made your gear designed, or how does that work?
I design it, yeah. And
Nice.
then I have like a gear maker who will like she'll be like, "Oh, this might look weird with this fabric or whatever," and then we'll make changes as necessary. But no, I design my gear.
Awesome. Well, I didn't mean to cut Chris Hebert off, but he wants to know what your favorite band is.
My favorite band. Oh, my favorite band these days. This isn't a band. I've been listening to a lot of Nancy Sinatra lately.
Ooh,
Yeah,
these
love
boots.
her. Yes, it's a great song. All her music's just so good. I love her.
Nice. And Eric Hunting says he would like to thank you for taking a moment with his daughter at the first grind show. It made her night.
Oh, you're so welcome, Eric, and thank you for coming to the show. It always just like it's a man, I can't remember what comedian said this, but it's so much easier not to do things than to do them. So just like having people take the time to like come to a show, like an indie show, local show, is just so awesome. So thank you for coming, Eric.
All right, I'm going to do a little screen sharing right now, just to show everyone one quick thing. We're going to go to a Chrome tab, and that's the star. That's the pop star right there. Um, that outfit is that's the pop star you, correct?
Hmm.
That outfit is like awesome. So,
Thank you. That's my newest gear.
okay, yeah, that's why I
Yeah.
wanted to pull that up. Definitely there. And then this would be you recording. Do you remember what song you
Yeah.
were recording there?
That's my new song that's coming out.
What's the
That's
title? Can
recent.
you? Oh, that's recent.
Yeah, yeah. It's coming out like in a few weeks. So
Okay.
I'll be releasing like the album art and the title soon. So stay tuned.
Nice.
Okay.
Well, here's a question that I'm just curious about breaking away from the gear, because I like the green version of that star gear that you've created too. I just saw you posted. But I'm also wondering, just because, again, we talked about how, I think most of our listeners understand this, but you're a freelancer. It's not like, you're working in the same ring in the same towns all the time. You could be working for a new promotion every month, every week. So what is it like for you when you go? Like, do you have to show up extra early when it's your first time? Because I always said to Rip that I felt like, as a fan, when I went to the grind shows, that ring seems to have zero give. And I got to imagine that you find that these rings aren't universal. Each one has its own pluses and minuses. So when you debut for a company like Grind or somewhere else, do you have to show up early to familiarize yourself with that?
Yeah, I mean, I try to always show up early, so that I'm, ready for the show. But yeah, it's generally a good idea to feel out the ring beforehand because, you don't want um an unfamiliar ring to affect your performance, especially if it can be avoided. So yeah.
All
Right.
right. Speaking of rain, hold on one second, Jack, please. How do you like your? How do you like the ropes? I know everyone has their own preference on the ropes. That some like it tight, some like it a little loose. How do you like the feel of the ropes? Do you have a preference or no?
I definitely like the ropes that are a little lower, like not too high, but it's because I'm short, so it's easier for me to like jump up to the top and stuff.
Okay.
Um, as far as like thickness or give, I mean, loose ropes are scary. I don't like loose ropes. Don't want to fall out. Or I don't know if you guys saw that clip of Willow. I think it was Prestige last weekend,
No.
but she hit the ropes and they broke, and she fell out of the ring.
Oh
And
Wow.
no.
that is like my nightmare.
Well,
Like I've
that's what
literally had dreams where that happened, and I was like falling, and it was
Oh my
terrible.
Well, that's
god.
So
why I brought that. That's the I never asked that. That is the first time question for me of asking any of our guests, and it was because of that I wanted to ask you. Is I felt that that would be a perfect question that not many other hosts would ask of their guests. So I figured that I would just ask you, what is your preference? So yeah,
yeah,
it was a perfect segue.
She just doesn't
All
want the
right.
ropes to break. I think that's probably a
And
segue. So
I don't want to fall out.
yeah,
Yeah,
right. You want to be able to get your arm on that top rope. So
yeah.
here's a question, just selfishly, because I've got a chance to talk to you. So I want to ask you this question because I've thought about this a lot in watching your matches. My favorite move that you do is the Muda lock. I just think it's awesome. And I snapped this incredible, for me, incredible picture of you had Davian locked in at the grind show. Do you have a favorite move?
Oh, that's a really good question. I mean, yeah, so many of my moves I really enjoy doing. That's why I do them, because they're fun. Um, so yeah, I mean, I love doing my 450. Honestly, it's so fun and so satisfying. It's definitely jumping from the top. I just did an elbow drop from the top at Limitless. That was actually my first time doing that. And I was like, oh, that's really fun. I'm flying. So expect to see more of that because I really enjoyed that. Um, so yeah, I love that. I love throwing a big boot. It's really satisfying. And yeah, Mudo lock. I love the Mudo lock.
Very
who is
effective.
any old school influences? You just mentioned the flying elbow. And everyone knows who my hero is. Old school influences. Anyone that you go back and study videotape of?
Oh yeah, I mean, I watch like a lot of like All Japan women's from like the 90s,
Okay.
and yeah, I mean, I watch like random stuff, and yeah, I don't know, like I guess I would say like who's like an old school influence. I feel like it changes every week. Like I could say a name now, and then next week I'll be like, oh, I've been watching a lot of
All
this
right.
other
First one that
person.
pops on the top of your head. First one that pops on the top of your head.
um for Roddy Piper.
Oh, there you go. See, perfect. Okay.
I don't know.
All
That
right.
was the right answer for Lewis.
Uh, no. Yeah, it was the right answer. I would have preferred somebody else, but um, Chris Hebert wants to know what's your favorite band these days?
I just answered that.
Yeah, Lewis, pay
Oh,
attention.
I got toys.
Give it a little time. You'll have a Becca toy up there soon enough. Just hang
Yeah,
in there.
maybe with the wrestling stuff over there. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Who's your dream opponent?
Oh my god. Sasha Banks.
God? No, no, God. No, Sasha Banks, really? Why?
She's the GOAT.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good
okay,
answer.
all
So
right.
here's a question I had because it was funny when you were talking about how your mom saw you and your match with Anthony Green. It's obvious that you don't seem to have any fear. I mean, you haven't shied away from mixed tag team matches. Like I've seen you tag with Alec Price. And do you have a preference? Like, do you like doing tag team matches or do you prefer singles?
I think of myself as a singles wrestler. And I think that maybe controversial opinion, I don't know. I think that a lot of people don't take tag team wrestling as seriously as they should, and there's a lot of amazing tag teams that they are completely committed to their tag team. They don't consider themselves singles wrestlers. They're like, I am a tag team wrestler, and this is it's just who they are as a wrestler, and I have so much respect for that. And I tag team wrestling is truly special,
Hmm.
and it's not just another match. It's very different. And I think sometimes people just get thrown together in these tags, and
Agreed.
and no, don't perform as well as like a tag team that's really committed to being a tag. So I consider myself a singles wrestler, but when I'm in a tag, I am committed to the tag team. I'm not just myself. I am that team. So yeah, I enjoy both, and I love tagging with Alec, but I do consider myself a singles wrestler, and um, yeah, there's just so many tag teams that are committed to being tag teams, and just think it's awesome. So
Yeah,
yeah,
no, I totally agree. I mean, I think it's what's so lacking from the WWE's tag teams, especially for women. It's a mess. It's just random scattershot teams thrown together. They might last a month, they break up, and it doesn't mean as much to me anyway. Like you said, unless you have a committed team that's defined and committed, it does feel kind of throwaway. And we were talking to Delmy a few weeks ago, and she was saying how she was a little nervous because at the
A month
grind,
ago.
they had never had a mixed match. So, how do you feel like the perception of mixed matches are? Like you mentioned, Anthony Green. Do you feel like crowds sometimes maybe aren't ready for it?
honestly, I think that's just like a online thing. I have never done any kind of intergender wrestling in front of a crowd, and had like the intergender aspect of it like be an issue. The only time I've ever seen people have an issue with it is like on Twitter, and to like sorry, like that's just my experience. And honestly, like I don't know, you know, to each their own. If you don't like it, don't watch it. But I think it's just really bizarre
Yeah,
for people to
agreed.
dog on something like to the extent that they do. And in this is just my observation. It seems like for me, a lot of the times when people have an issue with intergender wrestling, a lot of times they just don't like women's wrestling in general. Um, and so I'm kind of like, if you just don't like women's wrestling, then just don't watch it, and don't comment on Twitter and expect people to be like fine with what you're saying. So I don't know.
I think it's it just makes certain people uncomfortable. That's all. I mean, I'm fine with it. I think it's just it's great because it showcases everything, and it showcases how powerful women wrestlers could be. It showcases how powerful um, a man could be of standing up to against a woman in his own personal masculinity of getting his ass beat by a woman. So I think it's fantastic, but I just think it's also just people having something to bitch about. That's
Yeah.
plain
But
what it
here's my
is.
whole thing is it's like, all right, if that makes you uncomfortable, it's fine. I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
you know what makes me uncomfortable? A lot of like the deathmatch wrestling. I love deathmatch wrestling, but I have to like go like this a lot of the times because it's it's crazy. It's like it's like I mean it's so cool and I have so much respect for the people who do it. But like no one's out here being like, oh, there shouldn't be deathmatch wrestling because it makes me uncomfortable. And then people say that about intergender wrestling. It's like, what? Then just don't watch it. Like, it's just so bizarre to me that like suddenly people have like some moral issue when there's plenty of other things in wrestling that make other people uncomfortable and they don't go on Twitter and bitch about it.
See, it's funny. Like when it comes to deathmatch wrestling, to me, I yeah, I respect them, but it's like okay, whatever. I mean, we seen that already with Mick Foley and Terry Funk and everyone else. So it's like I respect them, but we've seen it already with the intergender matches. We haven't seen that. That's fresh. It's new. Let's do it. So like I had my fill of the deathmatch stuff. Forget that. It's done. It's over. It's like we've already. How many times can you get hit in the head with a light bulb? How many times could this happen? Fine. You want to give me a
Yeah.
deathmatch? Put Becca against Alec Price. There you go. That's a good death match. Let's have that because it's an intergender death match. I'll watch that shit all day long. But another
Yeah. I
type of death
mean,
match, we've already seen that. Come on. Let's move on and
deathmatch
get something else.
wrestling is like it's kind of like I don't
An
know, it's very
acquired
unique and
taste.
special. Yeah, and it
Yeah.
has like kind of a cult following, which I think is really cool for the deathmatch wrestlers
Mm-hmm.
and for the fans because it does kind of have that like cult following feel,
Mm-hmm.
which I think makes the shows. I've been to a few, and it makes the shows feel really cool,
Yeah.
and really special. And it is kind of, it's its own art form. And I don't
Correct.
think just any indie wrestler could just expect to just have a death match and just like, you know, have an amazing match their first time because it's something that, you really have to learn how to do and practice at just like
Something's
any
gonna
other
go
kind of
wrong.
match. Yeah,
Like,
yeah. And if
yeah.
you so you have
Yeah,
to
for
take it
sure. I
really
mean, again, no
seriously.
disrespect to any of those guys. I mean, much respect for all of them. It's just, it's kind of like how many times can you see someone jump over 20 cars? That's that's just how I feel. I just always something new for me, and the intergender matches, those that's new. You know, let's more of that. Like the trios match we had at Double or Nothing. Okay, put Ty Conti in there with one of the guys. Let don't with the mixed tag. Stop. No, let them mix it together. When Sammy kicked her in the face, yeah, that was great, but should have been the other way around. No, let one of the other guys do that. It's all part of the fun. It's all part of the show. It's all part of the art form. Let's see that. Jack, you're quiet.
So, well, you're talking. I don't see. I try not to step on you when you're talking. That's this weird
Yeah, I
thing
know.
with
I get
communication.
into the zone there, and I just like freak out, and I just go.
So we only have a few minutes left, Becca. So one of the things I wanted to ask you is, are there any specific companies that you haven't worked for in your fledgling career that you want to work for this year? I mean, I don't know how you plan your goals. They just kind of come as they come, but is there something really more immediate for you that you want to do in your career?
Yeah, I really want to work for Mission Pro in Texas.
Texas.
I yeah,
I
Black
was gonna.
Label in the Midwest. Um, Freelance. Yeah, those are a few names, places I'd really love to work. Prestige, they just had some amazing shows this past weekend that were really dope to watch. So
We're
yeah,
hoping to see
they're
you
all like
back at the
dreams.
grind and Blitzkrieg Pro because I've only seen you there once, and it feels like that would be pretty incredible to see you come back and take on some of those men or women, whoever it is.
I would love to.
Sign a match with you versus Jack. That'll be
Oh, it
perfect.
wouldn't last long. I'm sorry to say.
Oh, well,
I
you trying to say you're gonna beat her quick? Is that what you're
no,
trying
I'm
to say?
saying I'd be tapping to the Muda lock.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm just checking because if you were talking smack, I was gonna have
No,
to put the.
no smack
Okay.
talking over here. That's your
All
department.
right. Becca, where can people find you online on the interwebs, whether it be Facebook or we already had your website up there where they could buy your merch, and we will share that later. But where can people find you other than your website, like Instagram or other social media platforms?
Yeah, it's Becca Forever. So B3CCA, the number four, and then ever, and that's Twitter and Instagram. Um, Yeah, I'll be at Chaotic Wrestling in Tewksbury, Massachusetts, this Friday, June 3rd. I'll be in Hudson, Massachusetts, June 10th, at Lucky Pro Wrestling. June 12th, I'll be in Foxborough, Massachusetts, at the Beyond versus Open show. Um, and June 17th in New Jersey, I'll be at Pro Wrestling Vibe. So those are a few upcoming dates.
Wow, that was impressive that you just rattled all that off. That was great.
And if people want to buy your merch, where can they go? Just to the website that I pulled up earlier? Or do you have stuff on Pro Wrestling Tees?
I think I do, but it's really old, so don't buy that. I have a link tree in my bio on Instagram and Twitter, and it has links to my music, some matches, and also a link to my merch store. So if you go to that link tree, everything is there, and you can buy merch there or grab me at a show. I have new t-shirts, I have hats, 8x10 stickers, and pins. So yeah.
What about scrunchies?
On the website.
I sold out actually, so I don't have any right now. But
I had to get my daughter a
get new
scrunchie.
ones.
All right, I'll be looking for them at some point. And selfishly, I'm hoping we're going to see you at the Wrestling Open at some point too. I want to show up on a Thursday night and you come out.
Maybe we'll see.
All right, we'll keep our eyes open.
No spoiler there.
No. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying I love going on to Beyond as often as I can, and you just never know what you're going to get. It's awesome.
Are you going to the Beyond versus Open show on June 12th?
I don't know. I may, because my day job situation schedule opens up on that day. So yes, I'm hoping.
Maybe.
It's a maybe. I would really like to, and I haven't been to Foxborough in a long time, so it'd be an excuse to get back there. Lewis might go, or I don't know. Lewis isn't always reliable.
Hope to see you guys there.
I am not reliable one bit. Why? Because I'm a rock star. I'm a mover. I'm a shaker. I got this show that I take care of. I got my own show to take care of. I got another show I'm trying to launch with Joe and Ian. I am just a busy guy.
You are.
I am. Absolutely. I'm all over the place. Anyway, speaking of being all over the place, Becca, please hang out with us before we go off air. Jack, please tell everyone where they can find you to get some premiere artwork, some original art, some pages from comic books, where they can find you on your Patreon, and where they can find you and us in general.
Well, I hear you got a really cool X-Men page this weekend. Is that true?
I did, I love it to death. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good.
And I loved it. Hugs and kisses. I noticed that when I got to the car.
Wait till you notice the sketch I did on the back of the hugs and kisses.
I didn't even look yet.
Yeah, it's good. It's just for your eyes. But you can find me at Jack Purcell Inc. on Facebook, on Instagram. If you go to patreon.com and you want to support the arts, there's one tier. You can get a really good price on the commissions, so you should do that. I draw wrestlers. I draw superheroes. All of my artwork you can see there, including all the work I'm doing for Blitzkrieg Pro and a few individual wrestlers who I won't mention quite yet, but cool stuff. And you can find us at Faces and Heels on Facebook, Faces and Heels Podcast on Instagram. And before I turn you over to Lewis, just a reminder, we have Big Juicy on next week and Joseph Alexander the following week. So
I love Big Juicy.
Awesome.
Shout out Big Juicy.
Nice. And then this guy.
And you can find me each and every Monday night with my sister from another mister, that Wonder Woman, Jamie Dullen, as we do the Angry Geek Show live and in color right here for you. You can find us also on GCTV, South Hadley Public Access TV, with this person, Jack Purcell, on the Faces and Heels for the Angry Geek Show Hour. And then the Faces and Heels Hour. You can also find me very soon with Ian Chase Nichols and Joe St. Pierre on a very special Aqua Spider podcast that's just coming up soon. This Friday evening, I will be with Alternate Universe LLC as we go to this wrestling show right here. Jack, read that word because I can't see it. It's blurry.
It's Cataclysm. We got
Thank
BSC
you.
in Connecticut.
And I will be there. Jack won't be because he's going to be busy doing the teacher thing. But I'll be there as part of the Angry Geeks and Faces and Heels podcast. I'm Lewis, that's Jack, and that's Becca. And we'll see you guys next week. Becca won't, but I will. And we'll see you guys next week. So be safe, San Diego.
This has been an Earplug Podcast presentation. Found on earplugpod-cast.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and wherever your favorite podcasts are found.